The industrial sewing machine hums beneath my fingertips, a familiar rhythm that drowns out the sound of rain hammering against the grimy windows of my basement workshop. It's almost midnight, and my eyes burn from squinting at seams in the dim fluorescent light, but I can't stop. Not when Mrs. Chen's wedding dress alteration is due tomorrow morning, and not when my landlord's posted another late notice on my door, this one printed on pink paper instead of white, which I'm pretty sure means I'm running out of chances. I guide the ivory silk through the machine, my hands steady despite the exhaustion that makes my bones ache. 7 years of fashion school should have led somewhere better than this. A cramped studio apartment in Brooklyn's least trendy neighborhood. A workshop that's really just a converted storage room I rent for $300 a month from a landlord who doesn't ask questions. And a client list composed entirely of people who found me through Craigslist or word of mouth because I'm cheap. But cheap doesn't mean careless. I learned that from my grandmother, the woman who raised me after my parents died, who taught me that every stitch carries intention, that fabric remembers how it's treated. Even now, working on my third project of the day, I make sure each seam is perfect, each alteration invisible. It's the only thing I have left this skill, this craft, this stubborn refusal to produce anything less than my best, even when the world has made it abundantly clear that my best isn't enough. The machine stops with a mechanical sigh. I've run out of bobbin thread. Again. I lean back in my chair, pressing my palms against my eyes until colors burst behind my eyelids. My back screams in protest. I've been hunched over this machine for 6 hours straight. The half-eaten sandwich I bought this morning sits on my work table, the bread curled and hard. I can't remember if I actually ate any of it or just meant to. My phone buzzes. I already know what it is before I look. Another payment reminder. This one from my student loan servicer. The number at the bottom makes my stomach clench. $63,000. The weight of dreams I can't afford to carry anymore. I should eat. I should sleep. Instead, I thread a new bobbin and return to Mrs. Chen's dress. The rain has softened to a steady patter by the time I finish, somewhere around 2 a.m. I hang the dress carefully on a padded hanger, examining my work in the unforgiving light. The alterations are invisible, the waist taken in 3 inches, the hem shortened, the illusion neckline I added to cover Mrs. Chen's mastectomy scar. She cried when she tried on the original dress, not from joy, but from the visible reminder of what cancer had taken from her. Tomorrow, when she picks this up, she'll cry again. But this time it will be different. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. I lock up the workshop and climb the stairs to street level, pulling my thin jacket tighter against the October chill. The subway station is 3 blocks away. The street's empty except for the occasional taxi and the homeless man who sleeps in the doorway of the closed bodega. I walk quickly, keys threaded between my fingers the way my grandmother taught me, trying to look confident and purposeful even though exhaustion makes me stumble. The train car is nearly empty, just me, a woman in scrubs who's clearly pulling a night shift, and 2 men speaking rapid Spanish at the other end. I slump into an orange plastic seat, resting my head against the smudged window, watching my reflection blur as the train lurches forward. My stop comes too soon and not soon enough. The walk from the station to my apartment building takes me past darkened storefronts, past the check-cashing place with its bulletproof glass, past the corner where someone got shot 2 months ago and people still leave flowers. The stairwell of my building smells like urine and weed. I climb 4 flights because the elevator has been broken since July, finally reaching my door with the pink eviction notice still taped to it. Inside, my studio apartment greets me with silence. 400 square feet that somehow costs $1,800 a month. A Murphy bed I never fold up because what's the point? A kitchenette, where the stove has 2 working burners. A window that overlooks an air shaft. But it's mine, for now at least, and it's safe. And after what I left behind in Philadelphia 2 years ago, safe is all that matters. I don't bother changing clothes. I fall into bed, still wearing my jeans and the sweater with the permanent coffee stain, my sewing scissors still in my pocket, and I'm asleep before I can think about how much I owe, how little I have, how precarious this life I've built really is. The alarm screams at 7. I silence it with a groan, every muscle protesting as I force myself upright. Mrs. Chen is picking up her dress at 9, which means I need to be showered, dressed, and back at the workshop with enough time to steam out any wrinkles and package it properly. I shower in water that never gets quite hot enough, dress in clean jeans and a black sweater, my uniform, basically, and grab a banana for breakfast because it's all I have. The coffee maker broke last week and I haven't had the money to replace it, so I stop at the bodega on the corner and get a small coffee that costs $3 I don't have. Mrs. Chen arrives exactly on time, her daughter trailing behind her. I've already hung the dress in the front area of the workshop, such as it is really just a curtain I've hung to separate the customer area from the chaos of my actual workspace. Oh, Mrs. Chen breathes when she sees it. Her hands flutter to her chest, her eyes already filling with tears. Oh, Elena. I help her into the dress, careful with the delicate fabric, watching her face in the full-length mirror I bought used for $40. The dress fits her like it was made for her body now, not the body she had before cancer. The illusion neckline I added French lace that took me 3 hours to hand-stitch covers her scar completely, while still looking elegant, intentional, like it was always part of the design. My daughter's wedding, she whispers, touching the lace with gentle fingers. I didn't think I would make it to see her married. But here I am. Here I am. Her daughter is crying now too, and I have to look away, blinking against the burning in my own eyes. This is why I do this. Not for the money, God knows it's never been about the money. But for these moments, these small miracles I can create with needle and thread, these transformations that go deeper than fabric. Mrs. Chen pays me in cash $200, which is what we agreed on, even though the work I did was worth 3 times that. She tips me an extra $20, pressing it into my hand. Thank you, she says, and the gratitude in her voice makes the sleepless night worth it. After she leaves, I count the money. $220. My rent is 2 weeks overdue, which means I owe $3,600. This barely makes a dent, but it's something. I can buy groceries. I can pay my phone bill. I can keep the lights on for another month. I'm tucking the cash into my wallet when my phone rings. Unknown number. New York area code. I almost don't answer, it's probably another debt collector, but something makes me pick up. Is this Elena Martinelli? A woman's voice, crisp and professional. Yes, this is she. Miss Martinelli, my name is Vivian Chang. I'm the personal assistant to Alessandro Vitale. Do you know who that is? My breath catches. Everyone in fashion knows who Alessandro Vitale is. He's the CEO of Vitale Luxury Group, the man behind some of the most exclusive designer brands in the world. His family's been in fashion for 4 generations. He's on the cover of business magazines, dating models and actresses, photographed at galas in Milan and Paris. He's so far removed from my world we might as well live on different planets. Yes, I manage. I know who he is. Mr. Vitale has become aware of your work through a mutual acquaintance. He'd like to meet with you regarding a potential design opportunity. Would you be available tomorrow morning at 10? I stare at the cracked plaster of my workshop ceiling, certain I've misheard. I'm sorry, did you say Alessandro Vitale wants to meet with me? Yes, his office is in Midtown. I'll text you the address. Her tone suggests this is perfectly normal, that billionaire fashion moguls regularly reach out to struggling seamstresses working out of basement workshops. Will 10 o'clock work for you? Yes, I say, because what else can I say? Yes, 10 works. She ends the call. 30 seconds later, a text arrives with an address. I immediately recognize one of those sleek glass towers, where the lobby probably costs more than my entire building. I sink into my work chair, staring at my phone, my heart hammering against my ribs. This doesn't make sense. I don't have mutual acquaintances with Alessandro Vitale. I don't travel in those circles. The most high-profile work I've done was alterations for a local news anchor, and that was 3 years ago. But I think of my overdue rent, my maxed-out credit cards, the student loans that follow me like a shadow. I think of Mrs. Chen's grateful tears, and my grandmother's voice in my head. Every opportunity is a door. You won't know what's on the other side unless you walk through. I spend the rest of the day trying to figure out what to wear to meet a billionaire. The Vitale building is even more intimidating in person. All glass and steel and that particular kind of modern architecture that's designed to make you feel small. I stand on the sidewalk for a full minute, watching well-dressed people flow in and out of the revolving doors before I force myself to move. The lobby is exactly as expensive as I imagined: marble floors, a living wall of ferns that probably costs more to maintain than I make in a year, furniture that looks like modern art. The security guard at the desk eyes my outfit, my nicest black pants, a gray blouse I've had since college, the wool coat I bought at a thrift store with barely concealed skepticism. I have a meeting with Alessandro Vitale, I tell him, trying to sound confident. He checks his computer, his expression shifting slightly. 23rd floor. They're expecting you. The elevator is glass on 3 sides, offering a dizzying view as it climbs. My stomach lurches with each floor. I focus on my reflection instead. Dark hair pulled into a neat bun, minimal makeup, the silver earrings my grandmother left me. I look professional enough, I tell myself. I look like someone who belongs here. The lie feels transparent. The 23rd floor opens into a reception area that's all white leather and dark wood, the kind of aggressively minimalist design that screams money. A woman sits behind a desk that's probably worth more than my car would be, if I owned a car. Elena Martinelli. I say, I have a 10 o'clock with Mr. Vitale. She smiles, perfectly polished. Of course, Miss Chang will be right with you. Can I offer you water? Coffee? Water would be great, thank you. She brings me water in a glass that's so clean it's almost invisible, and I perch on the edge of a white leather chair, trying not to touch anything. My hands are rough from work, the cuticles ragged, a permanent callus on my right index finger from where I hold scissors. I tuck them under my thighs. Miss Martinelli? A woman appears from a hallway, tall, elegant, wearing a dress that costs more than 2 months of my rent. I'm Vivian Chang. Thank you so much for coming. Mr. Vitale is finishing up a call, but he'll be with you shortly. She leads me down a hallway lined with black and white photographs, fashion shoots, I realize, from Vitale's various brands. Models in stunning dresses, dramatic lighting, the kind of work that ends up in Vogue and Harper's Bazaar. My work looks like crayon drawings compared to this. We pass a conference room where several people are having what looks like an intense meeting. Through another door, I glimpse a design studio, dress forms, fabric bolts, the organized chaos of creation. My fingers itch to touch the materials. Here we are, Vivian says, stopping at a door at the end of the hall. She knocks once, then opens it. Mr. Vitale, Miss Martinelli is here. The office is enormous, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Midtown Manhattan. But I barely notice the view because my attention is immediately captured by the man standing behind the desk. Alessandro Vitale is taller than I expected from photos, probably 6'3", with dark hair swept back from his face, and the kind of bone structure that makes strangers stare. He's wearing a suit that fits him like a second skin gray, perfectly tailored, probably Italian. His eyes are dark, intelligent, and focused entirely on me with an intensity that makes my breath catch. Miss Martinelli, he says, his voice deep and accented Italian, but smoothed by years in America. Thank you for coming on short notice. He moves around the desk to shake my hand, and I notice several things at once. His grip is firm but not crushing. His cologne is subtle and expensive. And there's a thin scar along his jawline that somehow makes him more attractive rather than less. Please, sit. He gestures to the chairs across from his desk, waiting until I'm seated before returning to his own chair. Can I be direct with you? I'd prefer it, I say, finding my voice. His mouth curves in something that might be approval. I've been looking for someone with your particular skill set for several months. Someone who understands both traditional tailoring and modern design. Someone who can work with their hands but also conceptualize broader collections. Someone who knows what it means to create something personal, something meaningful, not just fashionable. I blink at him, waiting for the punchline. With respect, Mr. Vitale, you've never seen my work. How do you know I can do any of that? Haven't I? He opens a folder on his desk, sliding it across to me. Inside are photographs, my photographs. The bridesmaid dress I redesigned for a client who hated the original. The suit I altered for a trans man who needed something that fit his new body. The quinceañera gown I created from scratch for a girl whose family couldn't afford a designer but wanted something special. Pieces I've posted on my barely followed Instagram account. Work I didn't think anyone was paying attention to. How did you... I make it my business to find talent before my competitors do, he says simply. Mrs. Chen's daughter is married to one of my junior designers. She showed me photographs of her mother's wedding dress. I was impressed. I looked into you. The way he says it sends a chill down my spine. Not a threat, exactly, but a reminder that this man has resources I can't imagine, that privacy is negotiable when you have his kind of money and power. I have a proposition for you, he continues, leaning back in his chair. My sister is getting married in 6 months. She's been working with several high-end designers, but she's difficult to please. She keeps rejecting everything. I'd like you to design her wedding dress. The words don't make sense for a moment. I'm sorry. You want me, someone who works out of a basement workshop, to design a dress for your sister? Your sister, who can afford any designer in the world? Yes. Why? His expression shifts, something harder entering his eyes. Because my sister values authenticity. She wants something personal, not something that came off an assembly line with a designer label sewn in. And because I think you're talented enough to give her that, I should be flattered. I should be thrilled. This is the kind of opportunity that could change everything. My career, my life, my ability to pay my bills. But something feels off. Some instinct honed by years of being disappointed, warning me that things that seem too good to be true usually are. What's the catch? I ask. Alessandro's eyebrows rise slightly, as if he's not used to people questioning him. The catch is that my sister is opinionated and demanding. The catch is that you'll be working directly with my family, which comes with certain expectations. And the catch is that the timeline is tight: 6 months to design, create, fit, and perfect a custom wedding gown. That's not a lot of time. No, he agrees. Which is why the compensation reflects that urgency. He names a figure that makes my vision blur. It's more money than I made all of last year. It's enough to pay off my back rent, my credit cards, make a serious dent in my student loans. It's enough to finally breathe. I'll need to meet your sister, I hear myself say. See her style, understand what she wants. And I'll need a proper workspace. My current setup isn't adequate for a project like this. Already arranged. There's a design studio on the 18th floor that will be yours for the duration of the project. All materials will be provided. You'll have access to any resources you need. He stands, extending his hand again. Do we have an agreement, Miss Martinelli? I should ask more questions. I should get this in writing, consult a lawyer, protect myself somehow. But I think of the pink eviction notice on my door, of Mrs. Chen's grateful tears, of my grandmother's voice telling me that every opportunity is a door. I stand and shake his hand. We have an agreement. Excellent. His smile doesn't quite reach his eyes. My assistant will send you the contract and studio access details. Plan to start Monday. I'll arrange for you to meet my sister next week. He's already turning back to his desk, already dismissing me, and I realize the meeting is over. Vivian appears as if summoned, guiding me back through the hallway, into the elevator, down to the lobby where the real world waits. It's not until I'm back on the subway, rattling toward Brooklyn, that I let myself process what just happened. The Alessandro Vitale wants me to design his sister's wedding dress. The money alone will change my life. The exposure could launch the career I've been dreaming of since fashion school. But there's something he didn't say, something in the careful way he worded everything, that makes me uneasy. My grandmother used to say that the biggest gifts often came with the biggest prices, that powerful men rarely did anything without layers of motivation I couldn't see. I stare at my reflection in the subway window, this woman in her second-hand coat with her calloused hands and her desperate hope, and I wonder what I've just agreed to. I wonder if I'll regret it. The contract arrives in my email at 6 p.m. on Friday, a 30-page document that I read 3 times before signing, my hands trembling slightly as I type my name into the electronic signature field. It's real. This is actually happening. Saturday morning, I wake up early despite having nowhere I need to be, my mind already racing with design ideas, fabric choices, the 1,000 decisions that go into creating something worthy of Alessandro Vitale's sister. I spend the day sketching, filling page after page of my notebook with rough concepts, classic silhouettes with modern details, traditional lace paired with unexpected fabrics, designs that could work for someone who wants authenticity but also sophistication. Sunday, I clean out my workshop. It feels strange, packing up the space that's been my sanctuary for the past 2 years, but the studio Alessandro is providing will have everything I need and more. I'll keep the basement workshop for my regular clients, the alterations and custom pieces that pay my weekly bills, but the wedding dress will be created in Midtown, in a proper design space, with resources I've only dreamed about. Monday morning, I arrive at the Vitale building at 8 a.m., an hour early because I'm too nervous to wait at home. The security guard recognizes me this time, nodding as I sign in. 18th floor, Miss Martinelli. Miss. Chang left your access card at the desk. The card is sleek black plastic with my name embossed in silver. Elena Martinelli, design consultant. Something about seeing my name in that context, official and legitimate, makes this feel real in a way the contract didn't. The 18th floor is quieter than the executive level, devoted entirely to design studios and workshops. My studio is at the end of the hall, behind a frosted glass door with my name already on it. I slide the card through the reader, hear the lock, click open, and step inside. The space takes my breath away. It's easily 3 times the size of my apartment, with massive windows letting in morning light, industrial cutting tables, a professional sewing station with machines that probably cost more than a car, dress forms in various sizes, and an entire wall of fabric bolts organized by color and type. There's a private bathroom, a small kitchenette with an espresso machine, and in the corner, a sitting area with a couch and coffee table where I can meet with clients. I walk through the space slowly, running my fingers over the cutting table's smooth surface, examining the sewing machines, German-made, top of the line. The kind I've only ever read about in trade magazines. The fabric selection includes silks and satins, laces and tools, materials I've had to special order or do without because they're so expensive. Everything I could possibly need is here, organized and waiting. Beautiful, isn't it? I spin around to find Alessandro standing in the doorway, hands in his pockets, watching me with those dark, assessing eyes. He's wearing dark jeans and a black sweater today, more casual than the suit but somehow no less intimidating. There's something about the way he carries himself, the confidence, the absolute certainty that he belongs wherever he chooses to stand, that makes the air feel thinner. It's incredible. I say honestly, I've never had access to resources like this. You do now. He steps into the studio, moving toward the fabric wall with the ease of someone who knows his way around design spaces. My family built this company on the belief that talent needs the proper tools to flourish. Consider this an investment in your potential. The way he says it makes me wonder how many other designers he's made similar investments in, whether they all worked out. What happened to the ones who didn't? But I push the thought aside. I can't afford to second-guess this opportunity. My sister will be here at 11. He continues, checking his watch, a simple steel piece that probably costs more than 6 months of my rent. Her name is Isabella. I should warn you. He pauses, choosing his words carefully. Bella can be intense. She has very specific ideas about what she wants, and she's not shy about expressing her opinions. I appreciate the warning. His mouth curves slightly. I don't think you understand. My sister has made 3 designers cry. One of them was nominated for a CFDA award. I feel my stomach drop slightly, but I keep my expression neutral. I've dealt with difficult clients before. I'm sure you have. Something in his tone suggests he doesn't quite believe me. But Bella isn't like your other clients. She's been raised in this world, surrounded by luxury and beauty her entire life. Her standards are, he trails off, searching for the word, uncompromising. Then I'll have to meet those standards, I say, with more confidence than I feel. Alessandro studies me for a long moment, and I have the uncomfortable sensation of being evaluated, measured against some internal criteria I can't see. Finally, he nods. I believe you will. That's why I hired you. He starts toward the door, then pauses. One more thing, Miss Martinelli. My sister doesn't know about your background, your financial situation, where you work, any of that. As far as she's concerned, you're an up-and-coming designer I've been following. I'd appreciate it if you kept it that way. The words sting more than they should. He's ashamed of where I come from, of my basement workshop and my thrift store clothes. He wants me to pretend I'm something I'm not, someone who belongs in this world of luxury and excess. Of course, I say, keeping my voice level. Whatever you think is best. He nods, satisfied, and leaves. I stand alone in my beautiful new studio, surrounded by materials I couldn't afford and tools I've only dreamed of using, and I feel the weight of what I've agreed to settle over me like a heavy coat. I'm not just designing a dress. I'm performing a role, pretending to be the kind of designer who naturally occupies spaces like this, who doesn't have to worry about rent or debt collectors or whether she can afford dinner. And if I fail, if Isabella sees through the performance, if the dress isn't perfect, if I somehow reveal that I don't belong here, I'll lose everything. No pressure. Isabella Vitali arrives at exactly 11 o'clock, and I understand immediately what Alessandro meant about intensity. She sweeps into my studio like a storm system, tall and elegant in a white jumpsuit that probably costs more than everything I own combined, her dark hair falling in perfect waves past her shoulders. She's beautiful in that intimidating way some women are, with sharp cheekbones and her brother's same dark eyes, but there's something harder in her expression. Something that suggests she's used to getting exactly what she wants and has no patience for anything less. "You're the designer Alessandro found," she says, not a question but a statement. Her accent is stronger than her brother's, more distinctly Italian. She circles the studio, examining everything with a critical eye, and I feel myself being evaluated the same way. "You don't look like much." The insult is so direct it takes me a second to process. I prefer to let my work speak for itself. "Good, because I've heard enough pretty words from designers who couldn't deliver." She turns to face me, arms crossed. "Alessandro says you're talented. He says you understand authenticity, that you create pieces with meaning rather than just chasing trends. Is that true, or is it just marketing?" "It's true. Prove it." She gestures at my sketch pad, still open on the cutting table from this morning. "Show me what you've been working on." I hesitate for just a moment. These are rough concepts, not refined presentations, but something in her expression tells me she'll respect honesty more than polish. I hand her the sketchbook. Isabella flips through the pages slowly, her expression unreadable. She pauses on a design I'd drawn this morning. A modern take on a classic ball gown silhouette, with a structured bodice and a full skirt, but with unexpected details. Geometric lace patterns instead of traditional florals. A high neckline that somehow still suggests sensuality, sleeves that flow like water. "This one," she says, tapping the page. "Tell me about it." "It's inspired by Byzantine mosaics," I explain, moving to stand beside her so I can see the sketch. The way individual pieces come together to create something greater than their parts. The lace pattern would be custom-made, each section slightly different but harmonious together. The fabric would be Duchess satin for the structure, but lined with silk charmeuse so it moves like liquid. The sleeves would be detachable, so you could have two different looks, dramatic for the ceremony, sleek for the reception. Isabella is quiet for a long moment, studying the sketch with an intensity that makes me nervous. Then she looks up at me, and something in her expression has shifted, not quite warmth, but maybe respect. "You actually understand what you're doing," she says, and it's clearly a compliment even though it doesn't sound like one. Half the designers I've met just try to put me in whatever's trending this season. They don't listen. They don't think about who I am or what I want. "Tell me what you want," I say. "Not just for the dress, but for the day. What do you want to feel when you put it on? What do you want your husband to think when he sees you? What do you want to remember in 50 years when you look at the photographs?" Isabella's eyes widen slightly, as if no one's asked her these questions before. She walks to the window, looking out over the city, and for the first time since she arrived, her sharp edges seem to soften just a little. "I want to feel powerful," she says quietly. "Not pretty, not delicate, powerful. I want my husband to forget how to breathe. And I want—" She pauses, her hand coming up to touch the glass. "I want my dress to be mine. Not a copy of what's in magazines, not something designed to make other people comfortable. Mine." I grab a fresh sheet of paper and start sketching, letting her words guide my hand. A dress that's powerful but feminine, structured but flowing, traditional enough to feel like a wedding but modern enough to feel like Isabella. I work quickly, the design taking shape, a high neckline that reveals the strong lines of her throat and collarbones, a fitted bodice that emphasizes her figure without being revealing, a skirt that starts sleek at the hips then explodes into drama, and those geometric lace patterns threading through it all like art. When I turn the sketch toward her, Isabella stares at it for a long moment. Then she looks at me, and there's something fierce and satisfied in her eyes. "Yes," she says simply. "This is it." We spend the next 2 hours going over details, fabric choices, fitting schedules. Her wedding date May 15th, which gives me exactly 5.5 months. Her color preference is ivory, not white, with possibly gold or champagne accents. Her body concerns, she wants her shoulders emphasized. Her waist defined but not cinched. Isabella is demanding, yes, but she's also knowledgeable and engaged. She knows what she wants, and she's willing to work with me to achieve it. By the time she leaves, I have pages of notes and a clear vision of what we're creating. I also have something unexpected, a grudging sense that Isabella and I might actually work well together, that her intensity matches my own perfectionism in a way that could produce something extraordinary. I'm organizing my notes when Alessandro appears in the doorway again. I'm starting to think he has cameras in here, some way of knowing exactly when to arrive. "How did it go?" he asks, though his expression suggests he already knows. "Better than expected. She approved the design concept. We'll start with a muslin mock-up next week, then move to the actual fabric once we've perfected the fit." He nods, moving into the studio with that same easy confidence. I heard voices. "No crying. I consider that a success. Your sister isn't as difficult as you suggested. She just knows what she wants. That's a generous interpretation." He stops at my cutting table, looking down at the sketch I created for Isabella. His fingers trace the edge of the paper, not quite touching the drawing. "This is exceptional work, Miss Martinelli. Bella was right to approve it." The compliment catches me off guard. "Thank you. You should know," he continues, his tone shifting to something more serious, "that designing my sister's wedding dress comes with certain visibility. Our family is well known in certain circles. There will be photographers at the wedding, press coverage. Your work will be seen. Isn't that a good thing? Exposure for my career?" Yes and no. His dark eyes meet mine. Exposure cuts both ways. It can launch a career, or it can destroy one if something goes wrong. And in my family's world, there are people who would love to see something go wrong. A chill runs down my spine. "What do you mean, your family's world?" Alessandro is quiet for a moment, weighing his words with visible care. "My family's business interests extend beyond fashion, Miss Martinelli. We have investments in real estate, import-export, hospitality. We have competitors who don't always play fair. I need you to understand that working for me, being associated with the Vitali name, comes with a certain level of scrutiny. The way he's dancing around the truth is almost more frightening than the truth itself. I think of the scar on his jaw, the bodyguard I glimpsed in the hallway, the careful way everyone in this building treats him with respect, yes, but also with something that looks a lot like fear. Are you trying to tell me your family is connected to organized crime?" I ask bluntly, because I need to know what I'm dealing with. His expression doesn't change, but something flickers in his eyes, surprise maybe, or approval. "I'm telling you that my family operates in complicated spaces, that we have enemies, and that association with us can sometimes attract unwanted attention. I'm telling you to be careful, Miss Martinelli. To watch who you talk to about this project, to be aware of your surroundings, to trust your instincts if something feels wrong." My heart is hammering now, fear and adrenaline mixing in my bloodstream. "You're scaring me." "Good. You should be scared. Not of me," he adds quickly, "but of the world you're entering. I brought you into this, and that means I'm responsible for keeping you safe. But you need to cooperate, need to follow the security protocols we'll establish." "Security protocols?" My voice comes out higher than I intended. "For designing a wedding dress? For being associated with my family?" He moves closer, his presence overwhelming in the quiet studio. "Starting today, you'll have a driver. He'll take you between here and your home, and to any appointments related to the dress. Don't refuse him. Don't try to take the subway alone. Don't deviate from the route. That's insane." "I can't. You can, and you will." His voice is firm but not angry. "Consider it part of your compensation package. The alternative is to walk away now, and I'll pay you for the work you've done so far. But if you stay, if you continue with this project, you follow my rules. Non-negotiable. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one." I should walk away. Every instinct I have is screaming at me to take whatever payment he's offering and run, to go back to my basement workshop and my struggling existence where at least I understand the dangers. But I think of Isabella's fierce satisfaction when she saw her dress design. I think of the money that could finally give me breathing room, stability, a future. I think of my grandmother saying that opportunities are doors, that you have to walk through to see what's on the other side. "Fine," I say, hating how my voice trembles slightly. "I'll follow your rules." Alessandro's shoulders relax imperceptibly, as if he'd been genuinely worried I might refuse. "Thank you. I'll have my head of security brief you tomorrow on the protocols. In the meantime..." He pulls a phone from his pocket, similar to the one I already have, but sleeker, more expensive. This is yours. My number is programmed in, along with my assistants and my security teams. Keep it with you always. If anything feels wrong, if anyone approaches you asking questions about the family or the dress or anything else, you call me immediately. Understood? I take the phone, its weight somehow significant in my palm. Understood. Good. He moves toward the door, then pauses. Miss Martinelli, Elena, I want you to know that I don't take your safety lightly. You're under my protection now, and I take that responsibility seriously. Nothing will happen to you. I promise you that. The intensity in his voice, in his eyes, suggests this is more than just empty reassurance. This is a vow, a commitment, and something about it makes my breath catch in my throat. Then he's gone, and I'm alone in my studio with a phone that feels like a tracking device, and the growing realization that I've agreed to something far more complicated than designing a wedding dress. The driver is waiting for me when I leave at 6 p.m. He's exactly what I expected, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a dark suit and an expression that suggests he's seen things I can't imagine. He introduces himself as Marco, opens the door of a black sedan with tinted windows, and doesn't say another word during the entire drive to Brooklyn. At my building, he parks in front and waits until I'm inside before driving away. Through my apartment window, I watch the sedan sit there for another 10 minutes before finally leaving, and I realize with a chill that he's making sure no one followed me home. What have I gotten myself into? I try to work on other projects that evening. Mrs. Rodriguez's daughter needs a quinceañera dress, and I promised her a sketch by Wednesday, but my mind keeps returning to Alessandro's warnings, to his careful words about complicated spaces and unwanted attention. I search for his name on my laptop, finding dozens of articles about Vitali Luxury Group, about Alessandro's success in expanding the business, about his family's long history in fashion and beyond. But there are other articles too, buried deeper in the search results. Questions about the family's import-export business, speculation about their connections to organized crime families in Italy and New York, a 3-year-old investigation that was mysteriously dropped. Nothing concrete, nothing proven, but enough smoke to suggest fire. I'm reading an article about a rival businessman who accused the Vitales of intimidation tactics when my new phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number, though I suspect I know who it is. Stop researching. It won't tell you anything useful. I stare at the phone, my heart pounding. He's watching somehow, tracking my internet activity or having me monitored. The invasion of privacy should enrage me, but instead I feel something else, a strange mix of fear and something I don't want to name. Something that feels dangerously like attraction. I type back. Then tell me yourself. What should I know? The response comes quickly. That I will keep you safe. Everything else is complications you don't need to understand. That's not good enough. A longer pause this time. Then, come to my office tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. We'll talk. I consider refusing, asserting my independence. But I think of Marco waiting outside my building, of the phone that's probably tracking my location, of the beautiful studio, and the contract I've already signed. I'm already in this, whether I like it or not. The only question is whether I'm going to drown or learn to swim in these dangerous waters. I'll be there, I type back. His response is a single word, good. I don't sleep well. I keep thinking about Alessandro's scar, about the way his staff treats him with that particular mix of respect and fear, about Isabella's casual mention that their family operates in complicated spaces. I think about my grandmother, who fled Italy with nothing because she fell in love with a man her family didn't approve of, who taught me that sometimes the right choice and the safe choice are different things. At 7:30 a.m., I'm showered and dressed in my best clothes, which still aren't anywhere near appropriate for the Vitali building's aesthetic, but they're what I have. Marco is waiting outside my building, apparently a permanent fixture now, and he drives me to Midtown in the same weighted silence as yesterday. The executive floor is quiet this early, just a few staff members preparing for the day. Vivian meets me at Alessandro's door, her expression professionally neutral as always. He's expecting you, she says, knocking once before opening the door. Alessandro is standing at the windows, his back to me, hands in his pockets. He's wearing another perfectly tailored suit charcoal today, with a white shirt and no tie. Even from behind, he radiates that same commanding presence that makes the huge office feel smaller. Close the door, he says without turning. I do, my heart hammering. The click of the lock engaging seems unnaturally loud. You want the truth, he says, finally turning to face me. The morning light catches his features, emphasizing the sharp planes of his face, the intensity of his dark eyes. The truth is that my family has connections that most people would call criminal. We move money through channels that aren't entirely legal. We have relationships with people who solve problems in ways that would horrify you. And yes, we have enemies, rival families, law enforcement, competitors who would love to see us fail. The blunt confession steals my breath. I knew, or suspected, but hearing him say it so directly is different. Why are you telling me this? I manage. Because you deserve to know what you're part of now. Because pretending otherwise is unfair to you. He moves toward me, each step deliberate. And because I need you to understand why the security measures are necessary, why you need to follow the protocols, why I can't let you walk around unprotected. I'm just designing a dress. I'm nobody. You stopped being nobody the moment you walked into this building. He's close now, close enough that I can smell his cologne, see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes. You're associated with me now, with my family. That makes you valuable. That makes you a potential target. My hands are shaking. I clasp them together to hide it. A target for what? For people who want to hurt me, to leverage information, to create problems. His jaw tightens. I've already had 3 inquiries about you from people who have no business knowing you exist. Competitors asking questions, trying to figure out who you are and why you matter to me. I don't matter to you. I'm just a designer you hired. Something flashes in his eyes, anger, maybe, or frustration. If that were true, I wouldn't be standing here explaining this to you. I wouldn't have assigned Marco to you personally. I wouldn't have lain awake last night making sure every security protocol was in place. The admission hangs in the air between us, heavy with implications I'm not ready to examine. Alessandro seems to realize what he's said, because he steps back, putting professional distance between us again. The point is, he continues, his voice more controlled now, you need protection whether you understand why or not. And I need you to stop fighting it, stop questioning it, and just let me keep you safe. For 5.5 months, I say, until the dress is done and I'm no longer associated with you. His expression shifts to something I can't read. Yes, until then. But something in his tone suggests he doesn't quite believe that timeline either. That whatever started here won't end cleanly when Isabella walks down the aisle in my dress. Okay, I say finally, because what other choice do I have? I'll follow your rules. I'll use Marco as my driver. I'll keep the phone with me. I'll be careful. Thank you. The relief in his voice is subtle but genuine. Now, there's one more thing we need to discuss. Isabella's engagement party is this Saturday night. You'll attend as my guest. My stomach drops. Why? Because people need to see you with me, to understand that you're under my protection. Because Isabella will want to introduce you to her fiancé and his family, to show off the designer creating her dress. And because... He pauses, choosing his words. Because I want you there. The last reason is quieter, more personal, and it sends a flutter through my chest that I absolutely should not be feeling. This man is dangerous. He's admitted to criminal connections, to operating outside the law. He's my client, my employer, and he exists in a world so far from mine that we might as well be different species. But when he looks at me with those dark eyes, when his voice softens on those last words, I feel something shift inside me, something reckless and terrifying and entirely unwelcome. I don't have anything to wear to an engagement party, I say, grasping for practical objections. Already handled. Vivian will take you shopping today. Consider it part of your compensation. Of course he's already thought of everything. Of course he's already arranged for every potential obstacle to be removed. This is what powerful men do. They make decisions and expect the world to accommodate them. The smart thing would be to refuse, to maintain boundaries, to remember that this is business and nothing more. But I think of my overdue rent, my student loans, the career opportunity I've dreamed of for years. I think of Isabella's fierce satisfaction with her dress design, of my grandmother's voice telling me that opportunities are doors. Fine, I say. I'll go to the party. Alessandro nods, satisfied. Marco will pick you up at 7 on Saturday. The party starts at 8. He's already moving back to his desk, already shifting into business mode, and I realize I'm being dismissed. I turn toward the door, but his voice stops me. Elena. I look back. He's standing behind his desk, backlit by the morning sun, looking every inch the powerful man he is. For what it's worth, he says quietly, I'm sorry. I never intended for you to be pulled into this world. If I'd known... He trails off, shaking his head. Just be careful. Please. The please does something to me. Makes him seem almost human, instead of this untouchable figure of wealth and power. I nod, not trusting my voice, and leave before I can do something stupid like ask him what he meant, what he would have done differently if he'd known. Vivian takes me to stores I've only read about in magazines, boutiques where there are no price tags, because if you have to ask, you can't afford it. She has an unerring eye, pulling dresses that somehow work with my body type and my coloring, creating looks that are elegant without making me feel like I'm playing dress-up. We end up with 3 outfits, one for the engagement party, a midnight blue cocktail dress that makes me look taller and more confident than I feel, one for future events, a tailored pantsuit in deep burgundy, and a casual but expensive outfit for everyday wear designer jeans, and a silk blouse that probably costs more than my monthly rent. Mr. Vitale has excellent taste, Vivian says as we're leaving the last boutique, garment bags draped over our arms. He specifically requested that midnight blue dress for you. He said it would bring out your eyes. The information sends an unwelcome warmth through me. Alessandro Vitale thought about what would bring out my eyes. Alessandro Vitale, who runs a criminal empire and has enemies who might target me, and has made it clear that I'm under his protection, a protection that feels less like security and more like possession with each passing hour. Back at my studio, I hang the new clothes in the small closet, staring at the midnight blue dress. It's beautiful, elegant, the kind of thing I've never owned before. When I try it on, I barely recognize myself in the mirror. This polished woman with her designer dress and her styled hair looks like she belongs in Alessandro's world, at his sister's engagement party, on his arm. The thought of being on his arm sends another flutter through my chest, and I force myself to look away from my reflection. This is dangerous. He's dangerous. I need to remember that. But when Saturday night arrives and Marco picks me up, when I walk into the private event space where Isabella's engagement party is being held and see Alessandro across the room in a perfectly tailored tuxedo, when his eyes find mine and something like hunger flashes through them before he schools his expression back to neutrality, when all of that happens, I realize with sinking certainty that remembering he's dangerous isn't going to be enough to protect me. Not from him, and definitely not from myself. The engagement party is held in a penthouse overlooking Central Park, the kind of space that exists in a different economic reality than anything I've ever experienced. Floor-to-ceiling windows frame the glittering city below, crystal chandeliers cast warm light over marble floors, and waiters in white jackets circulate with champagne and hors d'oeuvres that are tiny works of art. I feel like an imposter the moment I step inside. Alessandro materializes at my side almost immediately, his hand settling on the small of my back with a possessiveness that makes my breath catch. Up close, he's devastatingly handsome in his tuxedo, the sharp lines of the suit emphasizing his broad shoulders, the crisp white shirt a stark contrast against his olive skin. You look beautiful, he says quietly, his breath warm against my ear. That dress is perfect on you. You chose it. I manage, hyper-aware of his hand on my back, of how close he's standing, of the subtle scent of his cologne. I know. There's satisfaction in his voice, and something darker that I can't quite name. Come. Isabella wants to introduce you to Marcus. He guides me through the crowd, and I'm acutely aware of the looks we're getting, curious glances from some guests, speculative stares from others, and from a few of the women, expressions that look distinctly like jealousy. Alessandro seems oblivious to the attention, or perhaps he's so used to it that he doesn't notice anymore. Isabella is holding court near the windows, radiant in a white silk dress that probably costs more than I make in 6 months. The man beside her is tall and classically handsome, with sandy hair and an easy smile that suggests he's comfortable in this world in a way I'll never be. Elena! Isabella's face lights up when she sees me, and I'm surprised by how genuine her enthusiasm seems. Marcus, this is the designer I told you about. Elena Martinelli, she's creating my dress. Marcus extends his hand, his grip firm and warm. I've heard nothing but praise. Isabella's been raving about your design for days. It's a collaboration, I say, finding my professional voice. Isabella knows exactly what she wants. I'm just helping her realize the vision. Modest and talented, Marcus says, his eyes twinkling. No wonder Alessandro snapped you up, before anyone else could. There's something in the way he says it, something that makes me glance at Alessandro, who's watching me with an intensity that makes my skin flush. Before I can respond, Isabella pulls me aside, leaving the men to talk. I need to warn you about something, she says, her voice low and urgent. My cousin Gabriella is here. Isabella pauses, searching for words. She had expectations regarding my brother. When she sees you with him, she's going to be difficult. I'm not with him, I say automatically. I'm just his employee. Isabella's laugh is knowing, almost pitying. Elena, I've known my brother my entire life. I've never seen him look at anyone the way he looks at you. And bringing you here, to our family event, that's not nothing. That's a statement. Before I can process what she's saying, a woman's voice cuts through the conversation, sharp and cold. Bella, darling, you didn't tell me Alessandro was bringing someone. I turn to find a stunning woman approaching, dark hair swept into an elegant updo, a red dress that looks painted on, and eyes that assess me with undisguised hostility. This must be Gabriella. Gabriella, Isabella says, her tone carefully neutral. This is Elena Martinelli. She's designing my wedding dress. How? Quaint. Gabriella's smile doesn't reach her eyes. Alessandro's always had a soft spot for charity cases. The insult lands like a slap, but before I can respond, Alessandro is there, his presence a shield between me and Gabriella. Careful, Gabriella, he says, his voice dangerously soft. Elena is a guest in my family's home. You'll treat her with respect. Gabriella's expression shifts surprise, then something that looks like hurt, then anger. Since when do you bring random employees to family events, Alessandro? Or is she something more than an employee? The tension in the air is thick enough to choke on. Isabella looks uncomfortable. Marcus is watching with wary interest, and Alessandro's jaw is tight with barely controlled anger. What Elena is to me is none of your concern, Alessandro says, each word carefully measured. Now, if you'll excuse us, I need to introduce her to Uncle Enzo. He takes my elbow and steers me away, his grip firm but not painful. I can feel Gabriella's eyes boring into my back as we move through the crowd. I'm sorry, Alessandro says once we're out of earshot. Gabriella has always been presumptuous about our relationship. My family has never encouraged her delusions, but she persists. She thinks you're supposed to be together. She thinks a lot of things that aren't true. He stops walking, turning to face me fully. But she's right about one thing: I don't bring employees to family events. I don't bring anyone to family events unless they matter. My heart is hammering against my ribs. Why am I here, really? And don't tell me it's for security or business purposes. Alessandro is quiet for a long moment, his dark eyes searching mine. Around us, the party continues, laughter and conversation, the clink of champagne glasses, the soft music from the string quartet in the corner. But in this moment, it feels like we're alone. Because I wanted you here, he says finally, his voice low. Because I've been thinking about you constantly since the day you walked into my office. Because when I saw you in that dress tonight, I wanted every person in this room to know that you're under my protection. That you're... He stops himself, shaking his head. I'm saying too much. No, I hear myself say. You're not saying enough. His hand comes up to cup my face, his thumb brushing my cheekbone with unexpected gentleness. Elena, this is dangerous territory. You don't want to get involved with someone like me. You don't want to be part of this world. Maybe I should be the one who decides what I want. For a moment, I think he's going to kiss me. His eyes drop to my lips, his thumb traces along my jaw, and the air between us feels electric with possibility. But then someone calls his name from across the room, and the moment shatters. He steps back, professional distance reasserting itself. I need to handle something. Stay with Isabella. Don't leave her side until I get back, Alessandro. But he's already walking away, moving toward a group of men in expensive suits who have the same dangerous edge I've started to recognize in Alessandro himself. These are his associates, I realize. The men who help him run his empire, both the legal parts and the parts that aren't. Isabella appears at my elbow, 2 glasses of champagne in her hands. She offers me one, her expression sympathetic. Welcome to the family, she says with a rueful smile. It's never boring. The rest of the party passes in a blur of introductions, uncles and cousins, business associates and family friends, all watching me with varying degrees of curiosity and speculation. Isabella stays close, running interference when conversations get too pointed, steering me away from people she clearly doesn't trust. It's during one of these moments, when Isabella is called away to greet late arrivals, that I find myself alone near the windows, looking out at the glittering city below. I'm sipping champagne and trying to process everything that's happened tonight when I hear a voice behind me. "You really don't belong here, do you?" I turn to find Gabriella, her expression a mix of contempt and something that might be pity. "I'm here at Alessandro's invitation," I say, keeping my voice level. "Because he feels sorry for you. Because you're a novelty, the poor little seamstress he's decided to play hero for." She steps closer, her perfume expensive and cloying. "But you should understand something. Men like Alessandro, men from families like ours, we don't marry people like you. We might play with them for a while, might enjoy the novelty of slumming it with someone authentic, but in the end, we marry our own kind. Her." Words sting because part of me knows they're true. I've been feeling the class divide all night in the way people look at me, in the conversations I can't contribute to because they reference experiences I've never had, in the casual mentions of vacation homes and private schools and trust funds. "I'm not trying to marry him," I say, but my voice lacks conviction. "Good. Because it would never happen." Gabriella's smile is sharp. "Alessandro will use you for whatever he needs, your talent, your novelty, maybe even your body if you're foolish enough to give him access. But when he's done, you'll go back to your little workshop in Brooklyn, and he'll move on to someone appropriate, someone from his world." Before I can respond, a hand grips my elbow, firm but not rough. I turn to find Marco, Alessandro's driver, his expression professionally blank. "Miss Martinelli, Mr. Vitali requests that you come with me. Now." There's an urgency in his voice that makes my stomach drop. Something's wrong. "What's happened?" I ask as he guides me quickly through the crowd, not toward Alessandro but toward a side exit. "There's been a situation, Mr. Vitali wants you somewhere safe until it's resolved." My heart is pounding now. "What kind of situation?" But Marco doesn't answer. He's moving fast, pulling me down a service hallway, through a kitchen where staff barely glance up, toward a service elevator. We're inside with the doors closing when I hear it raised voices from the main party space, then a sound that might be breaking glass. "What's happening?" I demand, fear making my voice sharp. "Someone at the party who shouldn't be here. Someone asking questions about you." Marco's expression is grim as the elevator descends. "Mr. Vitali wants you away from the situation until his people can determine if it's a threat." The elevator opens into an underground parking garage. A different car is waiting, engine already running. Marco opens the back door, practically pushing me inside. "Where are we going?" "Mr. Vitali's apartment. It's secure." Marco slides into the driver's seat, pulling out of the garage with controlled speed. "He'll meet you there once the situation is contained." I stare out the window as we navigate Manhattan streets, my mind racing. Someone was asking about me. Someone who shouldn't be at a private family event, who Alessandro considers dangerous enough that he had me immediately removed. This is real, I realize with cold clarity. The threats Alessandro warned me about, the danger he said came with being associated with his family, it's not abstract anymore. It's men asking questions at parties, security teams moving me like a chess piece, the constant awareness that I'm not safe anymore. We pull up to a building in Tribeca, sleek and modern with security that makes my apartment building look like a cardboard box. Marco escorts me through a private entrance, into a private elevator that requires a keycard to operate, up to the top floor. Alessandro's apartment is stunning, all clean lines and expensive materials, floor-to-ceiling windows with views of the Hudson River, art that looks museum quality on the walls. But I barely notice the luxury. I'm too busy trying to calm my racing heart, to make sense of what just happened. "Mr. Vitali will be here soon," Marco says, positioning himself by the door. "In the meantime, you're safe here. No one gets in without his authorization." I sink onto a leather couch, still wearing my midnight blue dress, still wearing the heels that are now killing my feet. My phone, the regular one, not the secure one Alessandro gave me, has 17 missed calls from a number I don't recognize. I'm staring at them when the door opens, and Alessandro strides in, his tuxedo jacket gone, his shirt sleeves rolled up, his expression thunderous. "Are you all right?" he asks immediately, moving to kneel in front of me. his hands on my knees, his eyes searching my face with an intensity that steals my breath. I'm fine. What happened? His jaw tightens. A reporter. Freelance. Working on a story about my family's business operations. Someone tipped him off that you were there, that you were close to me. He started asking questions: who you were, where you worked, what your connection was to the family. What did you do? I had him removed. Alessandro's voice is flat, and I made it very clear that pursuing this story, pursuing you, would be a mistake. The implied threat in those words should frighten me more than it does. You can't just threaten every person who asks questions about me. Watch me. His hands tighten on my knees. I told you you're under my protection. That means I decide who gets access to you, who gets to ask questions, who gets to know your name. That reporter violated that. He won't make that mistake again. I should be angry about this high-handed control, this assumption that he has the right to manage my entire life. But looking at him, at the fierce protectiveness in his eyes, at the way his hands are gentle even as his voice is hard, I feel something else entirely. Gabriella said something to me tonight. I hear myself say, about men like you not marrying women like me, about me being a novelty that you'll get bored with. Alessandro's expression shifts to fury. Gabriella doesn't know what she's talking about, doesn't she? I pull back, standing up, needing distance to think clearly. Look at this place, Alessandro. Look at your life. You exist in a world of private parties and penthouse apartments and security teams. I sew dresses in a basement workshop. I can barely pay my rent. We're from completely different universes. Do you think I don't know that? He's on his feet now, moving toward me with predatory grace. Do you think I haven't thought about every reason why this is a terrible idea? But I can't stop thinking about you, Elena. I can't stop wanting you near me. I can't stop imagining what it would be like to... He cuts himself off, running a hand through his hair in frustration. To what? I whisper. To have you. To keep you. To make you mine in every way that matters. His eyes meet mine, dark and hungry. I know it's selfish. I know I should let you finish the dress and go back to your life, somewhere safe, somewhere away from me. But I don't want to. God help me. I want to pull you deeper into my world, into my life, and never let you go. My breath is coming fast now, my heart hammering. That's insane. You barely know me. I know enough. He closes the distance between us, his hands framing my face. I know you're talented and stubborn and too proud to ask for help even when you're drowning. I know you work yourself to exhaustion because you refuse to produce anything less than perfection. I know you're scared of me, but you're also drawn to me, the same way I'm drawn to you. Tell me I'm wrong. I can't. Because he's not wrong. Despite every rational thought, despite knowing he's dangerous and that his world could destroy me, I am drawn to him. I have been since the moment I walked into his office, since he looked at me with those dark eyes and saw something worth investing in. This is a bad idea, I say, but I don't pull away. The worst, he agrees, his thumb brushing over my lower lip. Say no, Elena. Tell me to stop, and I will. I'll keep you safe. I'll pay you for the dress, and I'll make sure you're protected until the wedding is over. But after that, I'll let you go. Just say the word. I should say it. I should protect myself. Should recognize that this man, this dangerous, powerful, magnetic man, could break me in ways I've never been broken before. But I think of Gabriella's contemptuous smile, of the class divide that's supposed to be insurmountable, of all the people who've ever told me that dreams like this don't come true for people like me. And I think, what if they're wrong? Don't let me go, I whisper. The words are barely out of my mouth before his lips are on mine, fierce and possessive and absolutely devastating. He kisses me like he's been starving for it, one hand tangling in my hair while the other pulls me against him. I melt into him, my hands fisting in his shirt, kissing him back with equal hunger. When we finally break apart, both breathing hard, Alessandro rests his forehead against mine. You're mine now, he says, and it's not a question. Say it. I'm yours. The satisfaction in his eyes is primal. Good, because I'm not letting you go, Elena. Not now, not ever. Whatever that makes me possessive, selfish, dangerous, I don't care. You're mine, and I protect what's mine. I wake in Alessandro's bed, wrapped in sheets that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Morning light streaming through windows that overlook the city. For a moment, I let myself pretend this is normal, that I belong in this bed, in this apartment, in this life. Then reality crashes back. The engagement party, the reporter, Gabriella's contemptuous warnings, and Alessandro's fierce declaration that I'm his now, that he's not letting me go. I should be terrified. Instead, I feel something that might be peace. Alessandro is already awake, propped on one elbow, watching me with an expression I can't quite read. He's shirtless, the morning light catching the definition of his shoulders and chest, and I have to resist the urge to trace the lines of muscle with my fingertips. Morning, he says, his voice rough with sleep. Morning. I'm acutely aware that I'm wearing one of his shirts, that my carefully styled hair from last night is a mess, that I have no idea what happens next. I need to tell you something, Alessandro says, his expression growing serious. Last night's incident, the reporter, it's more complicated than I initially said. My stomach drops. How complicated? He wasn't working alone. Someone hired him. Someone who knew you'd be at the party, who wanted information about your connection to me. Alessandro's jaw tightens. Someone who's been watching you for weeks, possibly longer. The room suddenly feels colder. Who? We're still investigating, but I have suspicions. There's a family, the Costellos, who've been trying to undermine my business for years. They know the best way to hurt me is to target people I care about. His hand comes up to brush my cheek. They know I care about you. Because I'm designing Isabella's dress? Because I've made it obvious. He sits up, running a hand through his hair. The way I look at you, the security I've assigned, bringing you to the engagement party, all of it telegraphs that you matter to me. And now you're a target. I wrap my arms around myself, trying to ward off the chill. What do they want? Information. Leverage. Something they can use against me or the family. Alessandro's expression is grim. Or they want to send a message by hurting someone I care about. The casual way he says it, that they might hurt me, might kill me just to make a point, is somehow more frightening than dramatic threats would be. This is his reality, the world he exists in, where violence is a business tool and people are expendable. I should go home, I say, standing up, needing to move. I should finish the dress and stay away from you until this is over. Absolutely not. Alessandro is up in an instant, blocking my path to the door. That's exactly what they want, to isolate you, to make you vulnerable. You're staying here, where I can protect you. I can't just move in with you. I have a life, an apartment, other clients. Marco's already moved your essential belongings here. Your other clients can wait, or I'll pay them to wait. And your apartment in Brooklyn? His expression softens slightly. I paid off your back rent in the next 6 months. You don't have to worry about eviction. The words should relieve me. Instead, I feel the chains tightening, invisible but real, binding me to him with obligations I can never repay, with debts that go beyond money. You can't just take over my life, I say, but the protest sounds weak even to me. I can, and I will. Because the alternative is you getting hurt, and that's not acceptable. He moves closer, his hand settling on my shoulders. I know this is overwhelming. I know you value your independence. But right now, your independence could get you killed. Please, Elena, let me protect you. The please does it again. Makes him seem almost vulnerable despite the power he wields. I think of the reporter asking questions, of faceless enemies who might want to hurt me just because Alessandro cares about me. I think of my grandmother, who always said that pride is a luxury you can't afford when survival is at stake. Okay, I say finally, but only until the threat is resolved. And I still need to work on Isabella's dress. You can work from here. I'll have your materials and equipment moved to the apartment. You can set up a workspace in the second bedroom. His relief is palpable. Thank you for trusting me. Do I have a choice? His expression grows serious. Yes, always. If you truly want to leave, if you want to walk away from all of this, I'll make sure you're protected somewhere else, somewhere away from me. But I won't let you put yourself in danger just to prove a point. The fact that he's offering me an out, that he's acknowledging my agency even while trying to control the situation, does something to me. This is what makes Alessandro so dangerous, not his criminal connections or his enemies, but this. The way he makes me feel protected and valued, the way he sees me as both fragile enough to need his protection and strong enough to make my own choices. The next week passes in a surreal blur. True to his word, Alessandro has my sewing equipment moved to his apartment, transforming the second bedroom into a functional workspace. It's not as extensive as the studio in his building, but it's more than adequate for finishing Isabella's dress. I work during the day while Alessandro handles business, sometimes from his home office, sometimes from meetings around the city. Marco is a constant presence, either driving me to the Vitali building when I need access to the more extensive supplies there, or positioned outside the apartment when I'm working at home. It should feel like a prison. Instead, it feels strangely like home. Alessandro and I fall into a routine breakfast together in the morning, work during the day, dinner in the evening where we talk about everything except the danger surrounding us. He asks about the dress, about my creative process, about my grandmother who taught me to sew. I ask about his childhood, about how he came to run the family business, about the pressures of living up to his father's legacy. We don't talk about what we are to each other. We don't define this thing between us, but every night I sleep in his bed, wrapped in his arms, and every morning I wake to find him watching me with an expression that makes my heart stutter. It's during one of these mornings, almost 2 weeks after I moved in, that everything changes. I'm working on the final details of Isabella's dress, hand-stitching the intricate lace patterns that will make it uniquely hers when Alessandro's phone rings. I hear him answer in the other room, his voice sharp and urgent. Then he's in the doorway of my workspace, his expression grim. "Get dressed. We need to go. Now." The urgency in his voice makes my hands shake as I set down my needle. What's happened? Isabella's been in an accident. She's at the hospital. The drive to the hospital takes 20 minutes that feel like hours. Alessandro is silent beside me, his jaw tight, his hands clenched into fists. I reach for one of those hands, lacing my fingers through his, and I feel him grip back with surprising strength. At the hospital, we're directed to a private waiting area where Marcus is already there, his face pale, his eyes red-rimmed. He stands when he sees Alessandro, the two men embracing briefly, a rare show of emotion from Alessandro that tells me how serious this is. "How is she?" Alessandro asks. "In surgery. They said it's serious, but she should survive." Marcus's voice breaks slightly. "They're saying the brakes failed on her car, that she couldn't stop, that she crashed into a barrier doing 60 miles an hour. Alessandro's expression turns to stone. "Brake failure doesn't just happen. Not on a new car." Marcus nods grimly. "The police are investigating, but Alessandro, if this is..." "It is." Alessandro's voice is flat with certainty. "The Costellos. They couldn't get to me directly, so they went after my sister." The words hang in the air, heavy with implication. Isabella's accident wasn't an accident. Someone tried to kill her. Someone succeeded in hurting Alessandro by targeting the person he loves most. And suddenly I understand why Alessandro was so insistent about protecting me, why he wouldn't let me stay in my apartment, why he needs to know where I am at all times. This is what happens to people in his orbit. They become targets, weapons that his enemies can use against him. "I should go," I say quietly. "This is family business." "You should be with Marcus. You're staying." Alessandro's hand grips mine tighter. "You're exactly where you need to be." We wait for 3 hours before a doctor finally appears, her scrubs spotted with blood. Isabella survived the surgery. Multiple broken bones, internal injuries, but she'll recover. She's unconscious now, will be for several more hours, but family can visit briefly. Alessandro goes in alone first, and when he comes out 20 minutes later, his eyes are red in a way I've never seen. Marcus goes next, staying even longer. Then, to my surprise, Alessandro asks me to come with him. "She'd want you there," he says simply. Isabella looks impossibly fragile in the hospital bed, tubes and wires, connecting her to machines that beep steadily. Her face is bruised, one arm in a cast, bandages covering various injuries. But she's alive, and the relief I feel surprises me with its intensity. Somewhere in the past weeks, Isabella has become more than just a client. She's become something like a friend. "I'm going to find who did this," Alessandro says, his voice low and controlled. "And I'm going to make them pay in ways they can't imagine." I believe him. I believe he's capable of terrible things when people he loves are hurt. And the truly frightening part is that I don't condemn him for it. I understand it. I feel it myself, this fury, this need for vengeance against whoever put Isabella in this hospital bed. Isabella wakes up 2 days later, groggy and in pain but alive and alert. The first thing she asks about is her dress. "The wedding," she says, her voice weak. "I can't miss my wedding." "You're not missing anything," Alessandro says firmly. The wedding is postponed until you're recovered. Marcus agrees. No. Isabella tries to sit up, wincing at the pain. No postponing. I'm getting married on May 15th as planned. Elena, tell him the dress will be ready. I look between the siblings, seeing the same stubborn determination in both their faces. Bella, you're going to need months of recovery. I have 3 months. That's enough. I'm not letting them win. Her eyes flash with something fierce despite her injuries. Whoever did this, whoever tried to kill me, they wanted to disrupt my wedding, to hurt my family, to make us afraid. I won't give them that satisfaction. Alessandro looks like he wants to argue, but something in Isabella's expression stops him. He nods slowly. If you're sure, I'm sure. Isabella's hand finds mine weakly. You'll have the dress ready? I'll have it ready, I promise, even though I have no idea how I'm going to finish it in time while living under protective lockdown in Alessandro's apartment. But Isabella's determination does something to me. She's refusing to let fear dictate her life, refusing to let her enemies win. Maybe I need to learn from that. The investigation into Isabella's accident confirms what Alessandro already knew: the brake lines were deliberately cut. The police find evidence of tampering, traces of the person who did it, security footage that leads to a man with known connections to the Costello family. Alessandro's response is swift and brutal. I don't know the details, he keeps me carefully separated from that side of his business. But I hear whispered conversations, see the grim satisfaction in his face. Notice how certain people stop asking questions about me after various meetings that Alessandro attends. The message is clear. Hurt someone he loves, and he will destroy you. It should frighten me. Instead, I feel safer knowing the lengths he'll go to protect the people in his orbit, including me. Work on the dress becomes my obsession. I spend 12-hour days, hand-stitching details, perfecting every seam, creating something that will be worthy of Isabella's courage. Alessandro often sits with me while I work, quietly handling business on his laptop, occasionally bringing me coffee or insisting I take breaks to eat. We still don't talk about what we are to each other. We still haven't defined this relationship. But somewhere in those quiet hours, sitting side by side, I realize that I've fallen in love with him, this dangerous, protective, impossibly complicated man who looks at me like I'm precious, who gave me his mother's bracelet, who would burn the world down if it meant keeping me safe. The realization terrifies me more than any external threat could. 2 weeks before the wedding, Isabella is released from the hospital. She's still healing but mobile enough with a wheelchair and crutches. The first thing she does is come to Alessandro's apartment to see the dress. I've set it up on a dress form in the living room, the morning light catching the intricate lace details, the way the fabric seems to shimmer with movement. It's the best work I've ever done, a dress that's both armor and art, strong and beautiful, exactly what Isabella asked for. She stares at it for a long moment, tears streaming down her face. Then she looks at me, her expression fierce and grateful. It's perfect, she whispers. Absolutely perfect. Marcus, who's pushed her wheelchair, seems similarly moved. You captured her exactly, he tells me. Strong and beautiful and absolutely unique. The praise makes something warm bloom in my chest. This is why I do this work. These moments when I create something that means more than fabric and thread, when I help someone feel seen and valued and powerful. The final fitting will need to wait until you're fully healed, I say, already calculating adjustments I'll need to make based on how her body is recovering from the injuries. But I can make any necessary alterations right up to the day before the wedding. Isabella nods, still staring at the dress. Thank you, Elena, for not giving up on me, on this dress, even with everything that's happened. Never, I say firmly. We're finishing this. You're walking down that aisle in this dress, and you're going to be the most beautiful bride anyone's ever seen. After they leave, Alessandro finds me standing in front of the dress, touching the lace with gentle fingers. You did something extraordinary, he says, coming to stand behind me, his arms wrapping around my waist. That dress is art. It's love, I correct softly. Everything I create is love, stitched into fabric. It's the only way I know how to do this. His arms tighten around me. I love you. The words are so quiet I almost miss them. I turn in his arms, searching his face, finding vulnerability there that I've never seen before. Alessandro, I know it's too soon. I know this is complicated and dangerous and probably insane, but I love you, Elena. I think I've loved you since you walked into my office and challenged me, since you looked at me like I was just a man instead of the Alessandro Vitale. And I need you to know that, whatever happens, however this ends, I love you. My eyes are burning with tears. This is a terrible idea. I know. You're dangerous. Your world is dangerous. I could get hurt. I know. I'll spend every day trying to prevent that. I've never been loved by someone like you before. I don't know if I'm strong enough for it. His hands frame my face, gentle despite the power in them. You're the strongest person I've ever met. You've survived things that would have broken others. You've built a career from nothing. You've kept going when everything seemed impossible. And you're standing here now, in my apartment, after everything you've learned about me, still looking at me like I'm worth loving back. I do love you back, I whisper, the admission feeling like jumping off a cliff. God help me, I'm completely in love with you. The kiss he gives me is different from the others, softer, deeper, full of promises and possibilities. When we finally break apart, both breathing hard, Alessandro rests his forehead against mine. Marry me, he says. I laugh, the sound shaky. We've known each other for 2 months. I don't care. Marry me, not now, not tomorrow, but someday, when you're ready. When the dress is finished and Isabella's wedding is over and the threats are handled. Marry me and let me spend the rest of my life protecting you, loving you, showing you that you deserve all of this, the success, the security, the love. Marry me, Elena. I should say it's too fast, too much, too overwhelming. But I think of my grandmother telling me that opportunities are doors, that sometimes you have to walk through before you know what's on the other side. I think of Isabella's fierce determination to not let fear dictate her choices. I think of the woman I've become in these past weeks, stronger, more confident, more willing to fight for what I want. Yes, I say. Someday, when I'm ready, yes. The joy on his face is worth every risk, every danger, every moment of uncertainty. He kisses me again, and in that kiss is a promise that he'll wait, that he'll protect me, that he'll love me through whatever comes next. Isabella's wedding day arrives bright and clear, the kind of perfect May weather that seems designed for new beginnings. The ceremony is being held at a private estate in Westchester, security so tight it rivals a presidential visit. After the attempt on Isabella's life, Alessandro isn't taking any chances. I help Isabella into her dress, making final adjustments, ensuring every detail is perfect. She's fully healed now, moving with the grace and confidence that are uniquely hers. When she sees herself in the mirror, sees the dress, sees herself as the powerful, beautiful woman she is, tears stream down her face. Thank you, she says, pulling me into a careful hug. For staying, for becoming family. Family. The word does something to me. I've been alone for so long, ever since my grandmother died, existing in survival mode without real connections. But somewhere in these past months, I've found family again, Isabella with her fierce loyalty, Marcus with his quiet kindness, and Alessandro with his overwhelming love. The ceremony is beautiful, Isabella walking down the aisle on Alessandro's arm. Her dress catching the sunlight, her smile radiant despite everything she's been through. Marcus looks at her like she hung the moon, and when they say their vows, there's not a dry eye in the entire venue. I stand in the front row, wearing another midnight blue dress that Alessandro chose for me, his mother's bracelet on my wrist, and I watch my design become part of someone's happiest memory. This is why I create. This is what makes all the struggle worthwhile. At the reception, Alessandro pulls me onto the dance floor, his arms around me as we sway to soft music. I talk to the district attorney, he says quietly. The evidence against the Costellos is strong enough for prosecution. They won't be a threat anymore. Is it really over? The immediate danger, yes. My world will always have some level of risk, but nothing like these past months. His hand tightens on my waist. You're safe now, Elena. Truly safe. I look up at him. This man who has turned my life upside down in the best and most terrifying ways. What happens now? Now. His smile is warm, genuine, full of possibilities. Now we build a life together. You design dresses that make people feel powerful. I continue running my businesses, both the legal ones and the ones you still don't ask too many questions about. We live in that apartment with the view of the Hudson River. And maybe, when you're ready, we get married and I spend the rest of my life proving that you made the right choice by saying yes. That sounds like a happy ending. It sounds like a beginning. He kisses me softly. And around us, the wedding reception continues. Music and laughter, celebration and joy. The coming together of two families who've chosen to build something together despite the odds. 6 months later, on a quiet Sunday afternoon, Alessandro and I get married in a small ceremony at the same estate where Isabella married Marcus. Just family, just the people who matter. Isabella is my maid of honor, wearing a dress I designed for her, something powerful and beautiful, like she is. And when I walk down the aisle toward Alessandro, wearing a dress I created for myself, simple white silk with geometric lace details that echo Isabella's wedding dress, I'm not afraid anymore. I'm not worried about class differences or dangerous worlds or whether I belong. Because I've learned something important in these past months. Belonging isn't about where you come from. It's about who chooses you, who fights for you, who looks at you and sees something worth protecting, and loving and building a life with. Alessandro chose me, and I chose him back, and that, it turns out, is enough. Epilogue: 2 years later, my design studio has expanded beyond that single room in the Vitali building. I now have my own boutique in Soho, a staff of 6 talented designers, and a waiting list of clients who want dresses that make them feel powerful. Isabella co-owns the business with me, her investment and business acumen combined with my creative vision. We've built something extraordinary together, something that exists at the intersection of art and commerce, of beauty and strength. Alessandro still runs his empire, still operates in those complicated spaces he warned me about. But he's also become an advocate for emerging designers, using his resources to help people like I once was, talented people who just need someone to believe in them. We live in that apartment overlooking the Hudson, and every morning I wake up in his arms, still slightly amazed that this is my life. That the poor seamstress from Brooklyn became a successful designer, a wife, someone who belongs in spaces she once thought were only for other people. But the most important thing I've learned is this: every dress tells a story. Isabella's wedding dress told a story of courage and determination, of refusing to let fear dictate your choices. My wedding dress told a story of transformation, of becoming someone new while honoring who you've always been. And the dress I'm working on now, the tiny christening gown for the daughter Alessandro and I are expecting in 3 months, tells a different story. One of hope and family and the future we're building together, stitch by careful stitch. Because in the end, that's what I do. I take individual pieces, fabric and thread, moments and choices, fear and courage, and I stitch them together into something whole, something beautiful, something that matters. I create stories. And this one, mine and Alessandro's, beginning with a basement workshop and ending with love, is my favorite one of all. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you loved this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.